way they were turned in.
Will you respond to all the questions, please?
Well, I'm going to respond to the questions in the order that they were turned in. So I'll start from the bottom and go to the top.
Thank you.
So that's what I'm saying.
Start from the bottom. To the top.
Does anybody have any more cards?
Yeah, there are more.
Okay.
If we think of some as we go, can we bring it up to you?
Sorry.
If we think of something here.
Print that sucker out.
I'm writing a letter. I
Make
couldn't
sure
think of how to phrase
So
this.
there's like a variety of questions, some positive, some negative, etc. So I'm just going to respond in the way, like I said, they were turned in. So I'll start with the bottom. And I'd just like to know who asked that question, if they can raise their hand so we know who asked the question, so at least I can address them. It says the club currently has an indoor social area. What are you proposing for that?
I mean, one thing that happens right now is that a lot of people, as we play tennis, we're done playing, we want to sit and relax and have a beer and stuff like that. Right now, there's a very small little area for that. I mean, is that part of the program for the new clubhouse?
Well, that's a great question, and then the response would be this. Part of the meeting of today is to get this kind of feedback so we can incorporate some of the things that the club members and even some of the community members in other areas would want to see happen and make it part of our plan. So basically, what we have proposed for that is we will have an indoor area that can be used for that, and we also will have an outdoor area for that. But we are planning on having like an area where members can meet and have some activities, and then they'd also be able to use the outdoor area. So there will be two spaces, one indoor and one outdoor, and we can definitely incorporate that into our plan, and that's a good point. Okay, so I'll go to the next one. Your proposed development is clearly out of character with the neighborhood and will damage property values.
Excuse me, can you speak a little louder? I mean,
Sure.
without music, we can't hear.
It says,
Thank you.
yeah, and then why should this be permitted? Are you prepared to face a class action suit? I can't read the rest, to trial over many years. Is that your question?
It is my question. Here, let me help you with that. So let's see. Your proposed development is clearly out of character with the neighborhood and will damage property values. Why should this be permitted? Question one. Question two. Are you prepared to face a class action lawsuit guaranteed to drag on for years?
Good question.
So the first question is, I think you're absolutely wrong about they will damage property values. We believe that this project will actually enhance property values, so you're really seeing it the wrong way.
We've had previous analyses done, and they've shown that it will damage property values. Anyway, so we disagree. Go ahead.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to be able to respond, and then we have like a few minutes. You can respond, and you can respond, and we're going to have to leave the subject and go on to other questions because we have a lot of cards. But you asked I read your question, and on top of it, you wanted to read it, so I'm responding. Okay?
Well, I'm sure everybody could hear it. That's why I read it.
So I would say, for sure, that's the wrong concept. A project like this will only enhance property values. That's been proven for years. Now, a project like this will not enhance property values if these were townhouses, if this was an apartment project, if this was a townhouse project, if these were zero lot lines. I would agree it would not enhance the values that are currently there. But a project that's compatible in size, in terms of land size and home sizes, will definitely enhance the property values. In fact, they will go really high, and they will really appreciate with a project like that. That's a given. Now, the second part, why should this be permitted? The reason it should be permitted is because the property is currently zoned residential. And,
Open space.
the property is currently zoned residential. It's an R zone.
No, it's deeded open space.
But see, I've already said that, and honestly, I'm going to stop answering the question if you're going to keep interrupting me. You had a chance to ask a question, and if you're going to interrupt me one more time, I'm going to go on to the next question. I'm sorry. But I have to be able to respond. We cannot have going back and forth. So you need to be able to listen to what I have to say, because there's a lot of misinformation. The property is zoned residential. The use on it is for open space recreational. That's the use on it. But the zoning on the property is residential. That's for sure. So it is a permitted use, okay,
No.
as it sits here
Yeah,
today.
no buildings whatsoever.
And then, are you prepared to face a class action suit? Sure we are. We have millions of dollars invested in this. We will. And there's no way we'll be able to walk away from this, okay, no matter how far it goes, because there's, like I said, there's millions of dollars that are invested in this. And we believe ultimately that we will prevail just because of how the property was put together from the day when Chappelle Homes took this piece of property and did not actually remove it and make it part of the association. That's the problem that took place, is that if this was supposed to be a really open space, I'm trying to speak loud, I know there's the music. If this was really intended to be an open space piece of property, this should have been part of the association of Kimber Park. It was not. The city permitted this property for a club use, and they issued a building permit and planning clearance, okay, and built the building, and the owners have been paying property taxes on this property for 40 years. The current property taxes on this property today are over $85,000 a year. This means in 10 years, it's $850,000. In 12 years, it's $1 million in property taxes. So this is basically, I mean, I'm sorry to tell you, this is going to be a harsh statement, but basically, the entire community has had this property to be used for free for 30-some years, and it's a private piece of property. So sure, we are prepared to go all the way, because we believe we have a right to build on it. So that's the answer. This one here says, the grant deed clearly states that no houses or building can be built, and this open space is to remain in
Perpetuity
for the homeowners in Kimber. Why should anyone support this obvious theft from the community?
That's my question.
Yeah, and I think I answered that, but just to highlight the grant deed question, we believe that the grant deed actually clearly states, the way the grant deed is conveyed, that this property, okay, is not part of the open space. It's clearly stated that way because the grant deed clearly removes lot 342, which is this lot, from the association and says it's a private piece of property. So although it's, remember, this is not public open space. I think there's a lot of confusion between public open space and private open space. This is private open space, and most people are leaving those two words out, private open, and they think they're the same. Private open space is completely different than public open space. Club dues, locker rooms, club management, start date of club. Brent.
Yeah, that's me. Mainly interested in the club. Many of my neighbors are dealing with the other aspects of it, so I wanted to ask about the club. It's been ran poorly for so long. What will dues be? You've talked about the amenities, but for example, where the exercise equipment now used to be the living room that he's talking about, you know, and they ruined it when they did that. So, you know, respond to the club and what you envision for the club and dues. Because, for example, I've been talking to Club Sport because I'm only a swim and exercise member. I'm an idiot for the last 16 years for spending $130 a month to swim 4 or 5 times a year and work out maybe twice a week if I'm lucky. So I want to know, is this club going to be something that I want to be part of?
And that's a good question. I'll start off with the simple questions, like locker rooms. Definitely in the men's, I said we'll have a men's locker room and a women's locker room, so we will definitely have that.
Saunas, steams, you know.
Yes, we do hope to have a sauna and a steam, for sure. Showers, okay, and an area, of course, to shower, shave, and all of that. The club management, I agree with you. I mean, the club is like, I think, in a few more years, it'll be 30 years old, and very little money has been spent on doing anything to it. So, I mean, eventually, it's like, think of your home or your car. You leave it for so long, it's going to fall apart. So it does need to be helped. Okay? So the management of the club, the way the club is today, it's not really managed properly, for sure. And we feel that once the property is the club, that is, of course, is managed properly, then the use of the tennis courts is going to be enhanced, although we're reducing the tennis courts. Right now, it's just like whoever walks in, you can do it, and then they sign up, and it's all confused. But once there's a set way of how to use the club, the tennis courts, that will actually will get a lot more mileage out of the time and how the tennis courts are used than the way it is today.
Well, just one
Could you
quick,
repeat that? I didn't understand what you just said.
just one quick question about the mismanagement. For example, the lights being on all the time and the courts not being used. I've been told the electric bill's $5,000 a month. Why don't they turn off courts when they're not being used? That's an example of how poorly it's been managed.
I agree. I mean, I don't disagree with you. And what this club needs is it needs to be dealt with in the way clubs are managed today. And like I said, it's a 30-year-old property, and it is mismanaged. But what I said earlier is that once there's a better system for the use of the tennis courts, where it's managed properly, where okay, you have the tennis courts for 2 hours or 1 hour, etc. Okay, then you can get a lot more use for the tennis courts. The problem with the tennis courts, as I said, is that our tennis courts just down the street, and they do compete with the club. So that's the one problem. The other issue is that in terms of membership dues, there will be like 3 types we envision of membership dues. One that would just be to use the club for exercise only. One just for swim, and then one to do all 3. And if you are like a tennis club member and you're part of the, of course, being able to use the equipment, that would be the most expensive. I'm not really sure what the dues would be exactly, but I think somewhere maybe around like the 300 range. And then just the club members only would be about, without the tennis, would be somewhere in the 2, and then just for use of the club, just for equipment, it would be about 100. Okay? So there will be different steps for the use of the club.
Can I ask one more question? It's not on my card, but in the development of the houses, have you been dealing with the school board? I live on Canyon Heights in the newer subdivision that was built 15 years ago. And we almost got kicked out of the Golden School District twice in the last 15 years. Have you looked into building 30 more homes and what that's going to do to the school district? Because that will bring the property down if we have to go to the Washington High School District.
Well, I would have to go to the other question, so I will answer this one and I'll move on to the
All right,
next.
thank you.
So basically, you can't do that. I have cards. I have to finish. No, I have to answer his question first. You can't do that. If you have a question, please fill out a card. Anyways, to answer your question, we don't have 30 homes. We have 26. And if the school board says that the people not that are existing there cannot use it, that would never happen. They can say that the new homes, okay,
They changed the boundaries. They've done it in Whiteville. They'll do it here.
the new homes will have to go to another school. That would happen, but that's not very common. Not for 26 on the ring. We're talking like 200 homes.
Fremont, it's common. It's been done already.
There's no question.